Hello, Erin, and welcome to Chamber Chat.
Thanks for having me.
Perhaps you can tell us who you are and who you represent.
Sure, I'm Erin Dean. I'm the CEO of Creative Saskatchewan. And Creative Saskatchewan is the economic development agency for Saskatchewan's creative industries.
And lots has been going on with respect to Creative Saskatchewan in the last few years, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, we represent several creative sectors. So film and TV is the one that everyone's kind of hearing about a lot right now. But we also do music, book publishing, visual arts, craft, live performing arts, and interactive digital. So
Wow.
lots going on.
So I didn't even know all of that as actually runs through your office.
That's right.
Okay, how many staff do you have?
16 right now.
16.
Yeah.
Wow. So take us through like some of the, I believe the grant program started a couple of years ago, correct?
Yeah.
So what kind of activity have we seen since that actually was implemented?
You know, so we are, we're turning 10 years old this year. We turned 10 years old this year.
Okay.
So, you know, it's a nice kind of milestone to look back on what's changed. And we've been running grant programs since that first year in 2013.
Okay.
October 2013, our investment program opened. I was the only staff member and an admin staff. So it was myself running this investment fund for a few months until they put a CEO in place and we had more staff. And we had a lot of support from our friends at SaskArts. But, you know, since that time, one of the things that we've always tried to do is really just be flexible and responsive. So nothing is set in stone. We talk about that all the time. So when I look at our programs that we have today and put them side by side to what we were doing in 2013, it's like night and day.
Oh,
so,
really?
Yeah, our programs are open right now.
Yeah.
They've just opened for this fiscal year. And yeah, we offer production support to every one of those sectors that I mentioned. And then, you know, different types of support too. We offer marketing grants, which is very unique.
Oh, cool.
That's hard to find. And business capacity and research grants, and also market travel grants. So enabling people to get out there and show the world what they're doing.
So the industry is kind of rejuvenated in Saskatchewan, not just from film, but the other areas that you cover off, correct?
I think of film as the cornerstone because it really is like setting up a village, making something, and then tearing that village down and making space for the next village to come along. But it touches those other industries as well. Like every film and TV project has music. It has writers. Sometimes it's optioning a book to bring it to screen. They're buying everything you see in a film and television. Someone has either created it or purchased it. So that's what we love about film being back in Saskatchewan is it has a huge economic impact in the communities where it's happening.
Well, and the issue is there's businesses that arise or have been around for a long time in Saskatchewan. I'm thinking about Java Post and some of those that do the editing, et cetera, and they're enjoying the benefit of Creative Saskatchewan.
Yeah, I think, you know, for a long time there wasn't as much activity happening in Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
But that has really changed in the past few years because the government has made a significant increase to their investment in film and television. We went from $2 million a year to 10.
Right.
Now we're at 12. And it's just, you know, we hope that our program grows alongside the industry as it takes shape and develops and more crew develops. And the community has been incredible. They're incredibly supportive of having film back and seeing this work happen in their backyards.
Erin, let's talk a little bit about numbers. Like, what kind of economic spin-off is that? And how many jobs are we talking about?
Hundreds of jobs.
Yeah.
So it's a labor-driven industry.
Right.
You can't make it without people. And so that's kind of the first piece. And our partners at the Saskatchewan Media Production Industry Association, better known as SIMPIA, they're doing a lot of work to help create that capacity so that those jobs can be, you know, given to Saskatchewan people, and we're bringing less people in maybe. So that's one piece of it. But when we measured the economic impact of our investments, for every dollar we were putting into the film industry, it's about $4.22 of economic output. So we think it's a great investment for the province.
Absolutely, and it really supports our creative side of our people, right?
Yeah.
And so is it mostly taking place here in Regina, or is it throughout the province?
Throughout the province, for sure. I would say Regina is kind of the center in some ways for dramatic production, so scripted production. But there is non-dramatic, so maybe documentary, lifestyle series, there's kids shows. All of that stuff happens kind of throughout the province. And I'll share with you one major production that came to Saskatchewan last year. It's one of the most watched shows unscripted shows in the world is Alone.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Yes, I love it. Yeah.
It's pretty grisly. I mean, these people are just stranded and live off the land as long as they can. And they filmed up in Reindeer Lake last year.
Yeah.
And, they said Saskatchewan every other word. And we loved that. It got the word out about what Saskatchewan has to offer from that perspective, living off the land, those hunting and fishing outfitters. Like, that's a big part of the economy up north. And this whole show was kind of centered around our geography. It was really cool.
I'm so happy you brought that up because I don't know if you know this. I'm the chair of Tourism Saskatchewan. So, like, we actually have talked about that particular show quite a few times and what it brought, like that unpaid advertising for the province of Saskatchewan. So in a lot of ways, you're representing the province, right?
I think 100%. And we still think of corner gas as a big part of us. And when you go to the airport, there's still corner gas merch to buy. And you run into people other places and you see the corner gas hat, and they may not even have ever been to Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
So those projects kind of knit themselves into our lives and become special to us, and the place where they're filmed becomes special to us, whether or not we've been there before. So Alone, it's hugely popular.
Right.
But there's other shows too, like I think about Zarka.
Yeah.
Not Zarka the person, but Zarka the series. And it was filmed in Regina, and if you're from here, you're like, that's the Willow. Oh, they're in Wascana. And it's so fun to see production in your backyard and, representing us well. And it kind of brings that pride of place.
The pride of place. Well said. So if I was a producer and or director wanting to, looking around at the different jurisdictions, and Canada is obviously attractive because of the Canadian dollar, why would I choose Saskatchewan or Regina?
Yeah, really good question. I think our incentive is pretty generous right now, so there's that, and that's a primary consideration for production. But also, Regina is just so accessible. You think about the distance between the downtown hotels and the soundstage, it's like a 7-minute walk. And I don't know anywhere else in Canada you get that. And, they talk a lot about Regina being a 5-song town, get anywhere in 5 songs. Saskatoon is the same.
Yeah.
So there's that piece, and just really friendly people and beautiful locations. So not just the cities, but incredible locations across Saskatchewan, really diverse. You can be in the forest, you can have the sand dunes, the plains. We kind of have it all. We don't have mountains necessarily, but beautiful valleys. So
Badlands, right?
Exactly. And so I think that flexibility is important to producers. And then we just have incredibly hardworking, talented crews here.
Yeah, and I think that I've heard that actually when I was involved with some commercials, et cetera, and the fact that doing commercials and or shows in Saskatchewan actually is easier based on the work ethic.
You hear it all the time.
Yeah.
Just, if you pop down to the soundstage, they're not sitting around. They're hustling. They work really hard. They're very proud of the work they do. They're really talented experts, technicians. And I think they represent the industry incredibly well as well.
And they put in long hours, don't they, Erin?
They do, yes. Some productions, those are long days on set. It's definitely not for everyone. But the people who do it, I think it's a culture that they are incredibly proud of, and they work really hard.
So you mentioned the soundstage a couple of times, and I want to jump into that because there's a wall there. I don't know exactly how you position. I think it's a virtual type of wall. I've not seen it yet. Tell me about it because it's extraordinary, is it not?
Yeah, it is. And I'll start by saying it's privately owned, so it's owned by a company called Volume Global Saskatchewan. It's a volume stage, which is a little different than a volume wall in terms of the scale. So it is, I think, a 320-degree stage. It's made up of LED panels, and what it does is it creates a virtual environment. So, Saskatchewan can be anywhere in the world on any day of the year now at the Johns Hopkins Regina Soundstage because of this virtual production wall. But it is just really innovative technology. It's cutting edge. So in some ways, we're right on par with what's happening in other parts of the world because it's new kind of everywhere. You'll see this tech in a lot of Disney shows, like the Marvel shows or the Star Wars shows, but we have it right here in our city now too, and it is incredibly impressive.
That's interesting. I didn't realize it was privately owned. So tell us a little bit more. I'm sure you were involved in some of that in some way, right?
So a little bit. So Creative Saskatchewan administers the soundstage on behalf of the government of Saskatchewan. So we basically help rent the space out. So yeah, the timing was kind of perfect. We didn't have a lot of production that was using the soundstage. Soundstage spaces are hard to come by these days because there's so much more production happening. You know, if you think about how much more content you're probably even watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, our viewers are so savvy now. Like, they want great content. They don't just kind of flip around and say, like, okay, I'll watch this. Like, they want great looking stuff. So sound stages around the world were booking up quickly, big shows, lots of series, lots of, you know, continuous, you know, those shows like One Forever, many, many seasons. And it was hard to get a sound stage, but we had one in Saskatchewan. Our incentive wasn't kind of where it needed to be to attract a show to come here. But there was this group that wanted to put up a volume wall, and they needed space. And they had been working in the prairies, and so they came knocking, and it was the right time, we thought. Yeah, and it was kind of what we needed. So we knew that this incentive was going to come up, and we were going to, you know, want to find a way to put ourselves on the map, to get shows to look at Saskatchewan that maybe we hadn't been on their radar before. And this opportunity to put a volume in the stage came along, and so we worked with them, and they've rented the space out for a couple of years now, and the wall's up, and they start production tomorrow, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just ran into them on the way over here.
Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah, it's wonderful.
So it's really put us on the map in terms, because there's only a few of these around.
Truly.
This is one of the biggest
size.
Of this size, right?
So the company Volume Global Saskatchewan owns it, and they tell me it's the second largest in North America, after one in Atlanta, I believe, which is where all the Marvel stuff is filmed.
Okay.
So it's huge. It's very immersive. I had the chance to go in the other day, and they had a New York skyline up. So, you know, how often does Regina double for New York? Hardly ever. But there it is, the skyline's up, you're in the space, there's furniture. They kind of closed it in with some other kind of construction and materials, and it was incredibly convincing.
Really?
Like, you're there. Yeah.
So it goes back to my earlier question about why you would choose Saskatchewan or Regina to produce a film or something like this. You can do anything.
You can do anything. I mean, I would say even filming on location is a special experience in Saskatchewan. We know the summer nights here, just the best place to be. But, you know, if you're going to be filming in the soundstage on the LED wall, those exist kind of in bigger centers. But think about the cost of a hotel room in Regina versus Vancouver.
Yes.
Half the cost. And the time to drive from that hotel to the stage, we always say you can walk it, but if you are being driven, that's 3 minutes, 5 minutes. So there's such an economy savings of time. When you're in here, you can get around very easily. The cost of things is much less expensive. The cost of hotels is much less expensive than some of the bigger centers. So the money ends up on the screen.
Which is what they want.
Which is where it needs to be for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So from your chair, does your organization then market to different film companies throughout the world? Or?
We do, absolutely. Okay. So we go to markets and we meet with producers and hear what they're working on. And we love to say, like, what do you got going on? And they'll tell us, and they'll think, yeah, I don't know if that's a fit for you guys. And it doesn't take long before we can say, you know, it actually is a fit for us, and we'll tell you why. And we're hoping for a very busy year this year. The $12 million that we have to invest in film production, it should, you know, create $70 million spend.
Wow.
Yeah, a huge amount of impact.
So when you're marketing this, Erin, sorry to interrupt, but
go ahead.
When you is there symposiums or conferences that you go to, or how's that work?
Yeah, there's film markets that happen throughout the year. So it's funny, we were just in Yorkton for the Yorkton Film Festival this weekend, and a lot of market comes to that little film festival. It's the longest continuously running film festival in North America, right here in Yorkton.
Fantastic.
And, you know, there were a lot of broadcasters there, so producers from across Canada and sometimes even further come to Yorkton because it's a great chance to spend a lot of time with people that you don't normally have a lot of access to. And it's happening right here. Yeah.
So that saved you some money.
It does, and it's a great kind of first market for a lot of emerging filmmakers. So it was great to see some of them out and really dipping their toes into that. But marketing, it can be expensive for producers, so that's a great fit. But we go to, like, there's the Banff World Media Festival coming up in June. We'll go there. And we go to some across Canada. We do a few international ones, and just kind of working on building that network, getting Saskatchewan on people's radar. But it is such a relationship-driven industry that, you meet someone who says, I don't really have anything, but I know somebody that you should talk to. And then, it kind of builds from there. So it is important to get out and to be at those places. But our focus is obviously bringing as much business to Saskatchewan as we can.
Yeah, and sometimes you got to go out and get it, right?
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. So you're enjoying what you're doing.
Absolutely.
How long have you been at, well, you said you started in 2013. You were the first.
I was.
Yeah, so tell us about your background, how you got to be the CEO. I love the story. But.
Yeah, before I worked at Creative Saskatchewan, I had worked in the film industry in business affairs. So that's kind of contracts and, making sure all the insurance and releases and everything's in place. So it gives you a lot of insight into how a film comes together. So really glad for that experience. And then I ended up working at Sask Film for several years, and I delivered programs there. And then when they pivoted over to Creative Saskatchewan, I came on to deliver programs, and from there, just worked a lot with the community to tailor the programs and doing those consultations, meeting everybody, and then I became the CEO in 2020. And since then, we've had a lot of change and I think really positive growth.
Yeah.
So more than doubled our budget and really been able to bring some shows to Saskatchewan that wouldn't have been able to come here a few years ago. We just didn't have the resources in place. And a big piece of that is we had an incredibly supportive minister in Minister Laura Ross.
Right. And that's important, right? You need someone, a champion, if you will. Right?
Yeah, and she really understands the film industry. She was with us in Yorkton over the weekend.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so she comes to set all the time, and she is as thrilled as anyone to see what this industry can do for our province, and she really gets it, and she tells everyone how great it is, and we're very lucky to have her.
She's invested, no doubt, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we're a government agency. Our funding, there's a lot of priorities for government to consider. And we think of ourselves as a good investment because we have a return.
Right.
And not every government line item has that, right?
That's right.
So she's really helped us position ourselves that way as, we look like an expense, but we actually make money for the province.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? So, and your governance is set up whereby, as a CEO, you report to a board of directors,
That's
right?
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the good bunch, I would hope.
Oh, we have a great board of directors. Kama Lear is our chair right now, and she's fantastic. And really engaged group. And always kind of out there in the community and directing people our way, or, singing the praises of the work we're doing. And it's not just the work we're doing, it's really the impact that our investments have through the clients. So, we're in the background, but front and center are the film producers, or the musician who is touring the world, or the publisher who is printing and selling books. So, just coming up June 1st is Saskatchewan Art Gallery Day. So commercial galleries across the province open their doors, and people can come see what they're all about and hopefully buy some art. And there's all kinds of good stuff happening in Saskatchewan's creative industries.
Well, and it's, to me, it's exciting because I think you're part of a good news story. You and I first met at a hockey game.
That's great.
With our mutual friend Corey Furman, and but what I love about your story is that you're born and bred Regina, right?
That's right. I grew up in Regina. I went to school here. I worked in the industry here, and I'm happy to be able to be a little part of, growing the success of the creative industries in my hometown.
And tell us about your family.
I'm married to an animator, a creative person himself, so I kind of see it from both sides. And in 2017, we adopted our daughter. She was born in Florida, and we were adoption is like winning the lottery. If you're not, you just don't know if it's going to happen. So she came into our lives, and just the best thing that ever happened.
Oh, that's fantastic. I've enjoyed this. We could actually talk for quite a bit longer, but you should be very, very proud of what you've been able to accomplish. Congratulations on all your success and continued success. I guess we should end it with the fact that the soundstage is named after the former CEO of the Chamber of Commerce.
Champion for creative industries, John Hopkins.
And you knew John, right? Yeah.
I did. Yeah. I had the good fortune of meeting him several times, and he was, no secret, very talented musician, very passionate about Regina, passionate about creative people and what they can bring to a city. So very proud to have his name on the soundstage.
That's a great way to end this. So thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
What a pleasure. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Take care.
Chamber Chats is produced bi-weekly by Skycron as a service to the Regina business community. We produce many series, including the television series Go Nitro for NBC Sports, CBS, and Fox, as well as corporate videos, events, and live streams, all right here in Saskatchewan. We can do the same for you. If you have a video project for your organization, call us at 306-720-0097 and let's get started on your next project.